Hi, my name is Jenny Lee Spotswood, and I'm doing my presentation on keeping our early childhood teachers. A little bit about the early childhood field. There are 2.2 million workers in the U.S. Early childhood workforce. They care for approximately 10 million children ages birth through 5, and in the United States, 65% of children under the age of 6 live in households where all involved parents are working, so they will need child care. 50% of these children are in center-based care. 20% of these children receive care from a home-based provider. That's like an in-home child care center. And 30% receive care from their family members, friends, other relatives or neighbors that can help out the family. This just shows that childcare is needed, and of course people want reliable, educated people watching their children, so this is a cause that everyone should be interested in bettering the early childhood field. The main problem that the early childhood field is facing is that the turnover rate is 30% annually. And some of the reasons that this rate is so high is because early childhood educators are simply not paid enough. Early childhood educators are paid approximately half of what primary and secondary teachers make, even when they have 4-year degrees. So that leaves 51% of childcare workers needing some kind of public assistance, such as food stamps, Medicaid. So there's a great need for higher pay in this field. A quote from the Center for the Study of Child Care Employment says that a bachelor's degree in early childhood education has the dubious distinction of the lowest lifetime earnings projection of all college majors. So not a lot of people want to sign up to be a teacher, much less early childhood educator these days. This next slide shows North Carolina's early childhood occupation wages, and this just shows you the difference in pay between an elementary school teacher who would make $26.03 per hour, compared to, if you look down to the second to last one, a preschool teacher would make $12.44 an hour, and then a child care worker, maybe someone that doesn't have any educational credentials, would make $9.86 an hour. For a solution that has been tried is to raise the child care tuition costs so that they can raise the wages of workers. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, child care is affordable if it costs no more than 10% of a family's income. So by this standard, only 26.7% of North Carolina families can afford infant care. If you look on the graph to the left, it shows that infant care costs over $9,000 a year in North Carolina, but housing would cost less than that per year. It's $8,909, and college per year should only cost $6,578 on average. So childcare is expensive, so to raise the tuition even higher just wouldn't be feasible for families, especially low-income families or families that have more than one child needing childcare. The second solution I've shown is increasing state funding and subsidies to increase teacher salaries. This is something that's been tried again and again. This graph on the right here is from the Center for the Study of Child Care Employment, and it shows all the red states are where these subsidies have been stalled. There's been no progress, and yellow is edging forward. So, and then there's no states making headway. This is in 2018, so this is a recent graph that they're telling us about. So many of these strategies have been proposed, but few have edged forward, and 44 states have proposed policies, but they're just not they're just not getting anywhere. And some of these states have qualification policies, which means what it requires to become an early childhood educator. They're trying to raise the qualifications in hopes that highly educated workers will mean a higher paid workforce. And 29 states have financial resource policies that have stalled. So that means like subsidies to help increase the wage for workers. In addition to what they already get paid, then the state would help a little bit with that. So solution number 3 is the deregulation of childcare. This idea came from an article I read who's written by an economist. And so he is kind of showing the economic viewpoint of a solution to lower the cost of childcare and raise the pay of the workers. So he suggests that we remove the staff-to-child ratios and allow child care centers to care for more children, because they did a study that found that by raising the staff-to-child ratio by 1 child, it decreases the prices by 9 to 20%. But unfortunately, this would not work based on the research that we have about the one-on-one interaction that children need, especially birth through age 5. So the quality and individualized attention for each child would suffer, and it would be detrimental to their development, because anybody who knows who's been in a room full of young children is that we need more one-on-one attention for each child, because they have a lot of needs, and there's a lot of things that we have to teach them. My proposition is a joint approach between some of these ideas and some new ones. Education qualifications for early childhood educators should have a single standard system across all 50 states. Right now they don't. You can work in North Carolina without having any certifications in a child care center. Obviously some places have higher standards than others, but it would be ideal if all 50 states had the same qualifications. And an example of this would be nursing. In the 1950s, nurses didn't have to have the education that they're required to have now. And so the hope is that as the shift in this field requires more education, that better pay will follow, and that did happen in the nursing industry. Another part of this proposition is more subsidy programs and scholarship and grant programs to make becoming an early childhood educator an attainable goal. Enrollment is at its lowest for early childhood education programs in our state right now. That's because, well, it's so expensive to get the education, but it's also you don't make very much once you get the certifications or the degree. More funding to be allotted at the state and federal levels for early childhood education is necessary, because it's so expensive tuition-wise for childcare. We simply cannot raise it any higher. And on the center and private level, more staff incentives should be implemented, such as flexible schedules, vacation days, professional development opportunities. I know of a lot of child care centers that say, if you come work for us, then we'll pay your tuition to get that certification or to work towards your degree, because they want people to work for them long term and to stay in the field. So any kind of reward program for achievements, like perfect attendance or years employed, like every year employed you get another vacation day or something like that, that's going to encourage teachers to keep working there, and it'll boost morale as well. And the feasibility of this plan is that for qualifications, this has been implemented before. Like I said, the nursing industry, they require education today, and nurses are paid better than they have in years past. And also, I mean, not everyone needed a teaching degree when like kindergarten first started out. Now you have to have a 4-year degree. other fields have done this before. So it's not unreasonable to think that someday early childhood education will have the same qualifications throughout all 50 states. There are already subsidy and scholarship programs available, but they're on a smaller scale. They need more funding. Some of the examples are these subsidy programs called awards and wages, but they've only been accepted in certain states. So that could be expanded upon with different funding sponsors. That would be ideal. The investment is possible, but it must be lobbied for. For the state and federal funding, the money is there. It's just about making it a priority. We spend $668 billion on primary and secondary education every year in the U.S., but we only spend $10 billion every year on Head Start, which is the only federally operated preschool program. So if we're focusing so much attention on raising the standards in a public school, but I think if we shift some of that focus to the younger grades so that the kids coming in are more prepared and have a strong foundation for their education, I think the investment will prove itself. It's just about making it a priority. And lastly, the staff incentives are easy to implement, and they boost morale. You see the difference when there's incentives for coming to work every day and for staying many years in a profession. It's about the administration and what they do to make those incentives. And to end my presentation, I just want to say that young children are worth the investment. Often they're overlooked. The focus is on other things, but this is a very important cause, and it's near and dear to my heart. So thank you for listening to my presentation.